Good morning, brethren, and welcome to our bi-weekly program entitled The Word in a Glimpse, which is broadcast live on Facebook every Monday and every Wednesday at 8 a.m. West Africa time, which is 7 a.m. GMT. Today is Wednesday, the 20th of September, 2023, and our topic is the continuation of the topic that we started on Monday, the 18th of September. So it is entitled, God Commands You to Be Fruitful, Part 2. God commands you to be fruitful, Part 2. So on Monday, we said that the very first words that man heard from God, apart from the words of blessings, which were soft words, the first words of command that God gave man were be fruitful. Be fruitful. So this means that being fruitful is a very, very important thing in God's sight, in the eyes of God. That is why these were the very first words that he addressed to man. So today we're going to start our teaching by reading John chapter 15, verse 2. John chapter 15, verse 2. John chapter 15, verse 2. We read, Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Let's read again, for it is very important to understand it. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. You see, it is highly compulsory for all those who are in Jesus Christ to bear fruit, or in other words, to be fruitful. So Jesus Christ is the vine, as he said himself. Jesus Christ is the vine, and we are the branches. So Jesus is the vine to which all the branches are attached. Thus, all those who are attached to Jesus Christ must bear fruit. Those who don't bear fruit, those who are attached to Jesus Christ, yet don't bear fruit, those who are not fruitful, so those ones, God will take them away. This is what we read. So God takes away, God removes from the congregation of those who are in Jesus Christ the people who don't bear fruit, the people who are not fruitful. So it actually is very dangerous not to be fruitful when you are in Jesus Christ. So if you know that you are in Jesus Christ and you actually want to be a disciple of Jesus Christ and remain a disciple of Jesus Christ and remain in Jesus Christ, remain in the divine congregation of those who are redeemed, who are in Jesus Christ, then you have to be fruitful. If you are not fruitful, God will take you away. Now, those who are in Jesus Christ and who are fruitful, those who bear fruit, those who obey this command of God and are actually fruitful, what will happen? God will help them bear even more fruit. God will help them produce even much more fruit. He will help them be much more productive, much more fruitful. And for that, he prunes them, meaning that he makes them pass through a series of trials that will make them get rid of all the things, to make them rid of all the things that prevent them from actually being fruitful. This is it. So when you already bear fruit, when you have a tree with branches bearing fruit, you prune the branches of that tree. You remove everything that will prevent that tree or those branches from bearing much fruit, so that we'll have more fruit, so that all the sap of that tree will be directed to producing fruit instead of serving nothing at all or serving useless things. This is what also God does. When you bear fruit, when you are fruitful, He will help you bear more fruit. The action of pruning is a very painful action because it will cut from you all the things that can delay you in producing fruit, that can prevent you from producing much fruit. So this is why those who are in Jesus Christ and who desire to live godly in Jesus Christ suffer persecutions, for example. This is why they go through series of persecutions, series of hardship. It is to help them become stronger, become more perfect, become more fruitful. And Jesus also said that we will have many blessings from God, but with persecutions. When we actually consecrate ourselves to Him, when we actually attach ourselves to Him, we will receive many blessings, but with persecutions. This is what Jesus Himself said. So all these trials and persecutions are hard, but they refine us and they make us better so that we may bear more fruit. Pruning is a very painful action, as I said, but it helps the tree bear much more fruit and fruits of excellent quality. Being fruitful is the same as reproducing one's life in other people in what we are and in what we do. So we reproduce ourselves in other people, in what we are and in what we do. So what we must also keep in mind is that God is not at all happy with those who claim to be Christians yet are not fruitful, since they don't obey God's command. That command which says, be fruitful. And when God is not happy with somebody who does not obey His command, God cuts him off from the congregation of His redeemed children. He takes them away. This is what we read. We are not the one inventing this. It's the word of God. This is what we actually read in John chapter 15, verse 2. He who is not fruitful does not glorify God. On Monday, we said that those who are fruitful glorify God and they are disciples of Jesus Christ. So those who are not fruitful don't glorify God and they are not worthy to be counted among the disciples of Jesus Christ. So for Jesus Christ and for God, those who are not fruitful are not part of His congregation. This is what this verse means. John chapter 15 verse 2 means. Now let's go and read Luke chapter 13 verses 6 to 9. Luke 13 verses 6 to 9. Luke chapter 13 verses 6 to 9. Let's read. He also spoke this parable. He is Jesus Christ, of course. He also spoke this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit on it and found none. Then he said to the keeper of the vineyard, Look, for 3 years I have come seeking fruit on this fig tree and find none. Cut it down. Why does it use up the ground? But he answered and said to him, Sir, let it alone this year also, until I dig around it and fertilize it. And if it bears fruit, well. But if not, after that, you can cut it down. Let's read again. It's very important for us to have this in mind while our teaching continues. He also spoke this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit on it and found none. Then he said to the keeper of his vineyard, Look, for 3 years I have come seeking fruit on this fig tree and find none. Cut it down. Why does it use up the ground? But he answered and said to him, Sir, let it alone this year also, until I dig around it and fertilize it. And if it bears fruit, well. But if not, after that, you can cut it down. You see, not being fruitful is likely to shorten our lives. Unfortunately, this is the plain truth. If you are not fruitful, you are likely to shorten your life. Because not being fruitful makes us use up the ground for nothing. It makes us use up the ground uselessly. God didn't create us to be useless. He created us to be useful and mainly to be fruitful. This is why the very first time that God spoke directly to man was to command man to be fruitful. Thus, when man is not fruitful, when man does not produce any fruit, it is as if he was occupying his place on earth for nothing. It is as if he was breathing God's air for nothing. It is as if he was benefiting from the grace of God for nothing. Don't seek to benefit from God's grace for nothing. It's very dangerous. Now, concerning the unfruitful or the fruitless fig tree, in verse 7, we read that for 3 years, for 3 whole years, it was using up the ground. This same verse 7 reads in the Darby version that the fruitless fig tree was rendering the ground useless. It was rendering the ground useless. So when you are not fruitful, you and your environment as well become useless. You are useless to God. You are useless to your community. You are useless to the whole world. You are useless to the earth. You are useless. This is what it means. And everything around you become useless because you are making it useless. So when you are not fruitful, you and your environment become useless. And in the King James Version, this same verse says that the fruitless fig tree cumbers the ground. It cumbers the ground, which means or which implies that this fruitless fig tree needs to be cut down in order to free the ground because it is cumbering the ground. So if you cannot be fruitful, you are cumbering your environment and you need to free that environment. You need to be cut off from that environment. If you cannot be fruitful, you are cumbering the earth uselessly. You are cumbering the earth, you are occupying a position that needs to be occupied by somebody else, that ought to be given to somebody else. You are occupying uselessly a position that needs to be given to somebody who is fruitful. So you have to be cut off from the earth. This is what it means. So when you are not fruitful, you actually are likely to shorten your life. But fortunately, God is merciful and very patient. And He is so merciful. He is so merciful and so very patient that He always seeks to give the fruitless a second chance, an opportunity to bear fruit, an opportunity to become fruitful. So he does as He did with this fruitless fig tree. So to give the fig tree the opportunity to bear fruit, the keeper of the vineyard dug around it and fertilized it. The Derby version, as well as the King James version, makes us understand the kind of fertilizer that the keeper of the vineyard used. Because in the Derby version and the King James version, we read that that fertilizer was dung or manure. Anyone who has ever passed by a fertilizer made of manure or dung knows how it smells so bad and how it is so dirty. And no one ever likes dirt and bad odor. In the life of man, dung represents trials. Dung represents hardship. Dung represents sickness. Dung represents problems of all kinds. So if you are not fruitful, God may put dung in your life. He may put manure in your life. He may bring hardship and all kinds of trouble into your life. Dung is a set of trials and hardship through which God makes man pass to teach man lessons because that man is not fruitful, and to help that man become fruitful. So some trials and problems come into our lives because we have failed to be fruitful. And because God is giving us a second chance to be fruitful. So there are many reasons why people are not fruitful. There are many reasons why people fail to be fruitful. And the most important of those reasons are procrastination, lack of motivation, laziness, and mainly lack of consecration. That is, not being actually attached to Jesus Christ. If you are not attached to Jesus Christ, if you are not bound to Jesus Christ, if you don't glue yourself on Jesus Christ, you will not be able to be fruitful. So you have to be consecrated. You have to commit yourself fully to Jesus Christ in order to be fruitful. Dear brethren, we're going to stop here for today and continue with the same teaching on next Monday. God bless you abundantly beyond all your expectations.